Welcome back to Queenie Connection. Thanks for joining us. Lots going on in this episode, but first, a longtime volunteer with YourTV. Queenie, if you had a chance to volunteer with him like I did at the hockey games, it is a retired teacher, technology communications teacher, Eastside Secondary School. Very familiar face, Jim Doyle, back with us. So Jim, great to have you on again. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me on the show, and it's great to reconnect with you.
Yeah, how long were you teaching by the time you wrapped up your career recently?
Well, teaching was a second career, and I started in 2000 and finished in 2024, so just roughly 24 years.
Okay. So how's retirement treating you so far?
Well, good. At first, it was a little bit different because teaching is a very sociable job. And then all of a sudden, you wake up one day and you don't have an audience in front of you. So I go in and I supply teach. I continue to volunteer at YourTV, Cogeco, and through my church. So I'm keeping busy, and I kind of slowly, sliding into it slowly, but I'm enjoying it.
Good for you. Well, we got you on this show because we found out that you've written a book under James Patrick Doyle, Maniac. Walk us through this project. Has this been brewing for some time?
Yes. So my son Christopher had a blog, and he needed people to write for his blog. And he said, "Hey, Dad, you tell a lot of stories around the campfire and so forth. Would you write a weekly blog?" So, as a father, of course, I said yes. And it turned into a very interesting process because I committed to about 1,000 words a week. So, during the week, I'd think about a story. But of course, 1,000 words really isn't a lot to tell a story and wrap it up with a conclusion. But I would think about it throughout the week. And I think on Friday, when the kids went to bed, I would start to write. I'd proofread it on Saturday. And then every Sunday evening, I had to tell the story to my family. So that was a great exercise because it really taught me discipline and really had to really think about this. Well, the next evolution in it was that it's very hard to tell a complete story in 1,000 words. So then I would do a two-part series, maybe a four-part series, and eventually I went to a 12-part series, which now has evolved into my book. Because after putting in that amount of effort, I thought, well, why don't I start backfilling it in and making it into a novel? So it all started with my son, Christopher, challenged me to write a weekly blog for him, and it just expanded from there.
That's great. Did you have authors in the family?
Well, interesting enough, my wife, sister, is an English professor in Nipissing, and she's published a number of books. Her father has published books, her brother, and my wife, Leslie Doyle, she's got a master's thesis. It's a book. So on the other side of the family, yes. On my side of the family, I would be, I think, the first.
Well, fantastic. So walk us through the main character of this Maniac novel.
Okay. Well, the main character is Jacob Doyle, and he commits just a horrendous murder and turns himself in. And then the rest of it is a mystery. Why would he turn himself in? Does he have something on some of the police officers or people in the community? And so it turns into a real mystery. There's a little bit of love in there as well, and so forth. But it's really a murder mystery, and you have to wait until the very, very end of the book because I have a little interesting ending to the book that perhaps leads into a sequel.
Is it set
So,
in present day or back earlier in history?
well, I actually wrote it probably about 6 or 7 years ago. So in that time frame, so I would say yes, and more or less recent. It does happen in, say, we'll call it the Quinty area, and of course, with a new author, you write with things that are familiar around you. And then, of course, if you become accomplished, then you can travel and do your research. So my book takes place in the Quinty area, so you'll recognize maybe landmarks and things like that in the book. But it's quite an interesting book. I like it. The kids liked it. They were my biggest critic, and they would tell me whether they liked it, yes or no. One thing I should put out there to the audience is that with my children in our household, language is important. So I wasn't going to have a book riddled with a lot of profanity. And again, I had to read this to my children every Sunday, so I'm not going to read a book like that. Then the more intimate scenes are very, very innocent compared to other books you would read. Again, I'm not going to read that to my children. So I thought, well, what else do I do? Well, then I just got violent. And I thought, well, we'll just do a violent scene. And of course, then they were shocked by dad writing this violent scene. Well, I said, well, I wasn't going to write a sexual scene. I wasn't going to swear. Or what else do you want? So it was a lot of fun and so forth. But there was another thing or reason for writing the book that I used it as a lesson in my classroom. And today's technologies, our cell phones that we have are wonderful. The technology is wonderful. However, I found that a lot of the students were spending way too much time on cell phones. So I challenged them at the beginning of each semester, and I'd say, look, and I'd have them put your hand up. Who's on their cell phones for more than an hour a day, 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day? After about 4 hours, I said, okay, I've made my point. I don't need to go any further. But then I would challenge them. I'd say, well, if you could do something realistic, like put your cell phone down for 15 minutes a day. So if you're on your phone 4 hours, let's just go, 3.5 or 3 hours and 45 minutes. Put your phone down and do something else, like walk. Maybe read a book, play a musical instrument, do some homework, maybe, but do something. And by the end of the week, just how far you progress in that activity. If you're learning to play a guitar, and imagine by the end of the semester how far you would progress in that activity, as opposed to always using the cell phone.
Yeah.
And I'm very careful with the students when I say I'm not better than you, because since I've been retired, my usage have gone up from say 15, 20 minutes a day to about 2 hours. So I can get addicted to these phones just as easily as anyone else. So partly using this book as a teaching tool for the students to challenge them to put the phone down for 15 minutes a day and do something else.
Yeah, do something more constructive. Where can we get a hold of this book, Jim? Is it available to order? Is it already in the bookstores?
Yeah, so it is. Through my publishers, we set up a website. So it's actually James P. Doyle author.com. When you go to jamespdoyleauthor.com, it'll tell you a little bit about the book, about myself, and of course, where you can order it. We have the ebooks and the print books, Amazon Friesens, Barnes and Nobles, Indigo, Amazon Kindle, Google Play. So there's a lot of different areas where you can pick up the book.
Nice, nice. Well, congratulations, Jim. All the best, and looking forward to a sequel on this, perhaps. We'll see.
Well, it is. It's in the works. Thank you.